What was the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid? Knew a rich kid whose parents bought a car for and he treated it like absolute garbage. Purposely driving it really hard and generally abusing it. Confident in the notion that his parents would buy him the one he wanted after he destroyed the one they got him. Well, they didn't buy him another one. Ever. He rode the city bus and bummed rides off of friends after that. He was the most entitled fucker I'd ever met. If he was over at your house he would just help himself to whatever was in the fridge like it was some sort of paid buffet. This kid. He was a 17-year-old in my dad's hometown that was known for driving fast and being an all-around asshole on the road. He had multiple speeding tickets and a DUI on record. At 17, the DUI incident was actually a car crash that totaled his car and led to him having his jaw wired shut. So what do his parents do? They give him his license back and buy him a brand new car, which I'm pretty sure was a WRX, which crashed into a utility truck killing himself, his sister and her friend while doing almost twice the speed limit on a residential road. It was more surprising that someone could be so out of touch than anything. My boyfriend's roommate is 19 and runs a very successful online business, lives in LA, buys new clothes, including $2,500 sneakers, without a second thought, and despite growing up without much money, is very out of touch. I was sick while visiting and he told me to visit the doctor. I don't have great insurance and was already juggling other bills, so I told him I couldn't afford it with how much I get paid at my part-time convenience store job. He asked how much I got paid. $9.80 an hour. I get paid a little under $200 every 2 weeks. He was so taken aback. This man was so surprised that I was working my ass off with school, a job, and an internship and still lived on about a $100 a week. He still bothered me about going to the doctor but offered to help me out if I needed it. The worst part is $9.80 is pretty good for a job at the university I attend. I was really happy with the pay. Edit. I don't live in LA and $9.80 is well above minutes wage in my state. I live in dorms and scholarships cover that, so $100 a week is groceries and incidentals. Not great, but definitely livable. Thanks to everyone who was concerned though. Saw a college guy with a ridiculously expensive car. Can't remember the model. Rear-end this woman who drove an absolute beater. Her car was definitely totaled and his wasn't looking that hot either. He got out and started screaming at this woman. She was in tears. He kept telling her that she was going to pay for this. When the cops came, I saw each of them give their statements. After that, me and like 10 people came forward and gave our witness statements. It sounded like each and every one of us put complete fault on him, which was the truth. When the cops went back to him, I saw his face just sink. He probably told them it was her fault and just found out that 2 handfuls of people just confirmed that he's full of shit. I've never seen that many witnesses stick around for a simple traffic accident. I think the other people felt the same way I did. That kid was a douche and should be punished for what he did. Rich scummy injury lawyer's kid was in my class in HS. Goes to college, mid-size school in the Midwest, and gets plastered drunk. Parents bought him and his friends alcohol since freshman year, so nothing new, and Ra says he has to write him up for alcohol in the dorms. Punches 2 Ras, then gets cops called on him and knocks a cop's tooth out. Long story short, his parents have to drive back 6-7 hours after one day to get him and he's not even allowed to leave the state until his hearing. Freshman year of college. The guy across the hall from me is a spoiled rich kid from a big southern city. Old money clearly coming out his ass. A couple weeks into the second semester, he and a buddy found a checkbook on the sidewalk. Stupid fuckers decided to write themselves a check and cash it in the bank that the account is in. The teller immediately called the cops and they both got arrested. We talked the night he got arrested and he laughed and said his dad would take care of it and everything would be fine. That weekend we met his dad as they moved everything out of the dorm since his dumbass got expelled. Guess daddy didn't take care of it. Local business owner puts son through college and more. When kid graduates with multiple degrees, dad decides to retire and turn over business to son. Son brings college cronies on board, has management all wear white cowboy hats and drive white pickups, begins revamping business. Dad comes out of retirement pronto, gets rid of son and cronies. Years later bankrolls son's run for state rep, the son lost. Dad dies and leaves business to daughter. About 10 years ago I was having a pint with a friend of mine. His family shit gold, I swear. I mentioned I was struggling with rent and bills while in college and he just said, get your mum to pay for it then mate. She's disabled and we've never had real money. He instantly realized what he said and did feel bad about it. I think it was the first time he really understood that not everyone has their parents to lean on financially. Somewhat distant relative spent all of his university years and 20s partying hard with the 120k allowance his rich company-owning father gave him each year. He'd travel the world each year, going to Bali, Thailand, Europe, every year Oktoberfest, just rampaging. At 32 or so he decided to settle an upscale ski resort area of the US and open a business with his hot gold digger fiancée. When he went to transfer his money to his US bank account, he noticed it only came to a few $1,000s. He angrily asked the bank worker why she hadn't transferred the entire amount, only to be told that that was the entire amount. His father had cut him off without saying anything and he just hadn't noticed. Absolute flatline. While working in a casino here in Las Vegas, a herd of girls came to my window, and one proceeded to tell me about her great birthday party itinerary that her dad had paid for her 18th birthday, with no adult in the party, just a bunch of teenage girls, out in Vegas, where none of them could do anything because none of them were 21. I couldn't even check them into their reservation. They start yelling and screaming at me. I calmly call security, and security tells them they can either go play in the arcade or leave and try to find a hotel off the strip that will take them in without being 21. The anger turns to tears. The security guard is unmoved. Oh, I have one. I used to work at Starbucks and there was a girl that was just newly hired and in training. Mind you, she was 20 years old and her parents made her get a job. She grew up in a very wealthy family. On her first or second day, I had instructed her to do the dishes to help catch us up for closing. She looked at me with these lost eyes and told me she doesn't know how. Apparently she grew up with housemaids and literally has never cleaned a dish in her entire life. I had to teach her step by step how to clean a dish. Dad buys a rich kid a Mercedes. It was pinkish, salmon colored, so the kid bitched about it. Dad took it away, sold it, and never bought him another car. Rich brat had to buy his own. All throughout high school, for alphabetical reasons, my locker was right next to the son of the owner of a 200-store chain of convenience stores in our region. He was incredibly socially inept. I felt bad for him. We developed kind of a weird little friendship where we only ever talked at our lockers, but we had these little 2-minute deep conversations, mostly focused on him getting bullied, and me advising him to just chill out and stop running his mouth so much because that was why it was happening. He was obnoxious to classmates and teachers alike, and he reveled in it. He'd brag about his family's money and just generally play the part of a spoiled rich kid, almost like he felt like he had to. He liked being hated, envied, to some extent, but he also hated being an outcast. He did listen when I told him about the stuff that was bothering me. I was shy and felt ignored and excluded all the time. There was absolutely a kernel of a good human being in him. He was actually an important person to me in a way. I never told anyone else about that stuff back then. His behavior came back to bite him the week after the Columbine massacre. He decided to purchase and wear a black trench coat to school in the style of the school shooters. After a few days of him wearing that throughout the day, just to be a dick, he got cornered by some kids and absolutely pummeled. They broke his nose. He was fucked up. He'd been basically asking for it. So I'm not sure what he expected. Kid I knew won a cool $1 million off a scratch ticket when he was 19. Acted like a big shot, arrogantly buying rounds of drinks for entire bars. Didn't do shit for 20 years. Then got the last check. Alcoholic. No savings. No assets. No skills. He's now in and out of hospitals for alcohol poisoning and mental breakdowns. Lost his paper hat job. His GF everything. A friend of mine from college whose parents were rich enough to have a multi-million-dollar home in America and in Europe used to shit on me for saying I was happy to go to whatever medical school I could get into. I ended up getting into my state school and she responded by saying that she could get into that school in a second because her mom has connections in the admissions department, but she would never bother applying there because it's not even a good school. She also made the same claim that her mom could get her into a specific top 20 ranked school. All through college she had this attitude with me about how even though I was doing better than her in classes, I was going to go to whatever school would take me and she was going to go to her dream school because that's just how the world works. I checked up on her on Facebook this year and she's not exactly at her dream school. It turns out she is at her state medical school, which is actually significantly lower rank than the one she was making fun of me for attending. I don't want to say I was hoping she wouldn't get in anywhere because that's a little harsh, but I was happy to see her get put in her place a little bit. When I was a teenager, my sister and I saw through our windows that there were two guys getting into her car. We ran downstairs as fast as possible and caught them in the act. One managed to run away, but the other one froze and didn't run away. He couldn't have been much older than me. My sister called the cops and the kid kept looking at us and trying to find a way to escape. My sister said, "Run if you want. My brother will catch you." The cops came and so did his parents. His mom drove a fucking amazing car and the lady looked furious and sad. She was dressed really nice and looked like she was pretty successful. As soon as she got out, she began yelling, "Why? We give you everything. You have everything. Why would you try and steal? Don't we give you enough?" The kid just seemed to shrink and get smaller. I don't get it. Fucking asshole. I hope he turned his life around and began to be around better people. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video. Please check out our other videos, or watch our playlist. You can watch it for background music or just to fall asleep to. Thank you for watching. Until next time, have a nice day.